The ADC top 3 is going to see a shakeup for this patch with both Jinx and Ashe getting nerfed, while there's a new rune setup that's giving a bunch of strength to a few new solo carry additions. So let's get you guys set up with 3 of the best champions for every single role as we head into 25.23. But first, some hard truths. YouTube is built for the algorithm, not your LP. That means clickbait titles, junk food topics, and stretching simple tips for watch time. We're part of that system too, just like every guide and YouTube channel. And because every video is randomly surfaced to you as a singular guide and topic, advice often contradicts what you just watched. No context, no plan, more confusion. On our website at SkillCapped, however, we're free from all of that, allowing us to focus on what actually matters. We teach in the most efficient way to really rank you up fast, with the same premium editing and challenger level coaches you see here, just without the algorithm's hoops. Start with our essentials courses for every role updated for season 15. These are meticulously planned step-by-step guides that build your fundamentals in the right order. Once you finish the essentials, move into the advanced courses: deep dive wave control, advanced mechanics, the proven bronze to diamond climb paths, and literal world record jungle clears for each jungler, all structured so lessons stack instead of contradict. While you follow these learning paths, we also release our popular challenger walkthroughs, new sessions every week showing how to abuse the best meta champs for your elo, supported with an AMA section below each video, which we always respond to. We back it with a climb 5 divisions improvement guarantee while you're actively using SkillCapped, plus a 30-day refund change of mind policy on top of that, so there's literally no risk. Stop trying to mix and match random guides and start following a structured path far away from all the noise. Click the limited time discount link below to join SkillCapped today. So top lane is the one role where not a whole lot is changing in regards to the meta for 25.23, so Malphite is back again in the top 3. Malphite is actually getting buffed for this patch, but it's his W damage to monsters that is going up, so this won't really influence his strength in the top lane a ton. Of course, if you're helping your jungle fight over grubs or when you're taking an objective in the mid game, you will benefit from the buff, but it's not likely to increase Malphite's overall power all that much. He really doesn't need a power boost either, as the champ is just pretty absurd right now after the direct buffs he got in 25.20. The main item that Malphite rushes in every game, being Sunfire Aegis, is getting some extra monster damage as well, so these monster buffs could honestly lead to a small win rate increase, because if you're trying to duo dragon and rush it down before the enemy team arrives, the additional damage could actually make a big difference. For the build on Mal, it's either a Sunfire or Hollow Radiance rush into situational tank items from then on out. The must-ban champion, if you intend on playing Malphite, is Sylas, as you can't stack armor like you want to when in the matchup, and then Sylas stealing Malphite R is a recipe for disaster in mid-game teamfights. A top lane champ who has been really good throughout most of the season and back in the top 3 for 25.23 is Kayle. So Kayle's great for multiple reasons, but the main ones being that she has a great time playing into 2 of the most commonly played top lane champs, being Garen and Darius. She scales better than most top laners and even has one of the best level 1s in the game. The fact Kayle can outduel most top lane champs at level 1 while still being able to outscale as well as she does really shouldn't be possible. Something our challenger top laner Strumpus likes to do on his Kayle at level 1 is sneak into the top lane brush and try to trade with the enemy right from the jump. Make the lane as volatile as possible early on, because in an extended fight where you have lethal tempo, you're going to win out. The optimal build for Kayle is going to consist of a Nashor's Tooth rush into Rabadon second and then Lichbane third. In regards to Kayle's matchup in meta, one champ you do want to avoid right now is Malphite. Malphite being able to get super tanky and also having the attack speed slow from his E really limits Kayle's DPS potential if Malphite focuses you down in fights. When it comes down to bruisers up in the top lane right now, nobody is matching Garen's current power level. Garen is just a really easy top lane champion to be consistently impactful on because of how stat checky of a pick he is. If you can learn your matchups on Garen and consistently acquire leads in lane, it's easier to snowball on him than the majority of other top laners. If you're playing someone like Aatrox or Aurelia, there's always a chance the enemy can outplay you even if you have a lead. With Garen, you just can't miss your damage, so there's literally no way for the enemy to beat you in a 1v1 if you're ahead. That is, unless you're playing against Kayle. Kayle is the one matchup that the average Garen player really struggles against, so using your ban on her is a good idea. Once Kayle gets her ranged form at level 6, it becomes very hard for Garen to do anything in the matchup because Kayle just kites Garen around, and if you do manage to get on top of her, then Kayle can just use her R to completely nullify Garen's R, and it just makes things really tricky for Garen. The meta build for Garen is going to consist of a Stridebreaker rush into Phantom Dancer second and Spear of Shojin or Infinity Edge third, while Conqueror slots in for the Keystone rune. An assassin jungler we really like right now who kicks off the top 3 for the role is Kha'Zix. So Ka was the big winner from last patch's rune changes because both Cashback and Triple Tonic were buffed. This has shifted strength over to First Strike on Ka, and it's currently his highest win rate Keystone rune, outclassing Dark Harvest. Triple Tonic in specific is a really great rune for Kha'Zix because he can take advantage of the Elixir of Force extremely well. The Elixir grants 18 AD on pop and lasts for 1 minute, so if you're skirmishing over grubs in the early game, that Elixir will literally be giving you nearly 2 longswords worth of additional damage. Since Kha'Zix is a champion who needs to get ahead to be most effective, taking this more snowbally page with Inspiration Primary is working looking amazing instead of the scaling-oriented setup with Dark Harvest. Between First Strike, Cashback, and Treasure Hunter, there's just so many more ways to accelerate into your core build. For the build on COD, it's going to consist of a Ghostblade Rush into Opportunity second and Edge of Night or Cyrilda's Grudge third. Matchup-wise for Ka, he's always had a more difficult time dealing with Rengar, so he's a good ban to consider. So one of the best low elo junglers for multiple patches in a row now is back in the top 3 for 25.23, as we've got Jax. If you're Diamond or above, then opting into Kha'Zix is more ideal, but if you're anywhere from Iron to Emerald right now, you should really consider Jax as your jungle to main. A big reason Jax excels so much in the lower ranks is because he runs into so many winning matchups. Master Yi, Viego, and Diana are all junglers who are spammed in low elo, and Jax's dodge mechanic from E can shut them down so well. One matchup worth a ban that Jax players have been running into more issues against over the past few patches is Kha'Zix. Ka never has to commit to a fight because of his stealth from R and leap from E, so it makes it a lot more difficult for Jax to get good value out of his E. The 2-item core that you're playing for in every single game that turns you into a dueling monster consists of Trinity Force into Sundered Sky. The consistent DPS is off the charts, while you're also super tanky at the same time due to all the resists you get from popping R. A jungler who's most commonly played as a bruiser but who's finding a load of success as an assassin right now is Jarvan. So Jarvan, regardless of how you build him, is a great pick right now, but his lethality builds are really overperforming. What you do is go Profane Hydra into Axiom Arc for your 2-item core, and you just play around one-shots with your R. You need to have R available in order to one-shot squishies, so that is why Axiom Arc is such a vital purchase to get your R on as short a cooldown as possible. Since you want to be able to dive the backline and assassinate the enemy carries, banning out a meta peel support like Lulu is what we'd recommend. You can definitely still opt for the bruiser style of Jarvan if you feel it's better suited for the game though, as playing the assassin build into a heavy tank comp won't be ideal. Overall, just a lot of versatility coming out of Jarvan right now, as you can adapt to each game super well, and he's a very solid jungle pick because of that. A mid laner who's sneakily climbed into a really powerful spot over the past patch is Kassadin. Just like Kha'Zix, who we featured for jungle, Cass is loving Inspiration Primary right now due to these rune buffs from 25.22. You take both Cashback and Triple Tonic so that you can reach your mid-game spike as quick as possible. The first elixir that you receive from taking Triple Tonic gives you gold, and that gold is buffed from 40 up to 60, while Cashback gives you 8% refund on legendary purchases instead of 6%, so you're hitting your mid-game spike faster by taking this page. Since Cass is a Rod of Ages user, purchasing the item as fast as possible is extremely vital, and by going Inspiration Primary, it allows you to do exactly that. The main weakness of Cass has always been his early game and needing levels and items to be effective, so the recent rune buffs have helped to minimize that weakness quite a bit. Matchup-wise for Kassadin, it's always going to be AD mids who will give you the most amount of issues, so banning out Zed is good value as he's currently the most played AD mid. So Kassadin is the best AP assassin of the patch, but when it comes down to AD assassins, nobody is coming close to matching Neferi's power level. Neferi is back in the top 3 for a second patch in a row, as she's been dominating with the recent buffs to Hail of Blades. Hail of Blades has now become Neferi's most popular keystone rune, and in combination with rushing Voltaic Cyclosword, the all-in power on your one-item spike is absolutely foolproof. You dive in with R, proc the slow from Voltaic, and then that slow guarantees you'll be able to get your Hail of Blades autos off, and then if the enemy tries to dash away, you got your dash from E to follow up. So as long as you got that initial lock on with R, it's so easy for Neferi to assassinate her target. And something more and more Neferi players are doing with their rune page is they're actually taking Triple Tonic and Cashback in secondaries. This page of Hail of Blades for the Keystone and Inspiration secondary is currently outclassing everything else, so Neferi has gotten so much better due to being able to abuse 3 different runes that were buffed last patch. The one matchup in meta that you're going to want to ban out right now when picking Neferi is Yasuo. Yasuo with his passive shield and wind wall make it really difficult for your Q poke to be as effective as you want, and on top of that, the mobility Yasuo has from E also makes landing Q that much more difficult. And then to round out the top 3 for mid lane is going to be one of the most free elo champs from the past couple of patches, as we've got Morgana. So Morgana mid is still a really strong pick despite receiving an armor nerf in 25.21. Your game plan with Morgana is super simple, as you're just looking to spam W out on the wave, acquire priority, and then use that lane priority to find advantages around the map. You don't really have any consistent solo kill threat in lane with Morg, so the way to be most useful is by constantly having first move for when a fight breaks out in the river. Just by having constant lane priority, it's going to end up being extremely net positive over a large sample size. You'll run into so many situations where both junglers are fighting for Scuttlecrab, and if you can rotate over first, then that can single-handedly sway the skirmish in your team's favor. For Morg's build, you want to rush Blackfire Torch into Horizon Focus or Liandry second. Liandry's if the enemy team is more tanky, and Horizon if they are majority squishy. Third item Zanya's is generally going to be the best in slot there. And then for your rune page, something really underrated right now is grabbing Inspiration secondaries with Cashback and Triple Tonic. So with nerfs to 3 of the best ADCs from last patch, making a move into the top 3 for ADC in 25.23 is Smolder. Smolder has been right in behind Ashe and Jinx in strength lately, so he's loving the fact that both of them are nerfed. Neither Emilio nor Nami are getting nerfed for this patch either, and those have been 2 of Smolder's highest win percentage support duos lately, so he really likes how the support meta is aligned. Something to consider on Smolder that a lot of high elo low Smolder players like to do is running teleport instead of barrier for your secondary summoner spell in specific matchups. If you're in a lane where the enemy lacks early game kill threat, something like Jhin, Yuumi, or Bard Twitch, then teleport can be really nice to accelerate into your mid game faster. You don't have to worry about running low on mana, so you can just spam W for poke, and if you ever drop low on health or mana, then you don't have to miss out on minions for basing. Collecting farm on Smolder is even more valuable than most champs because of his Q stacks, so teleport just helps to get him to his 225 stacks as quick as possible. Since Smolder just wants to farm as freely as possible and scale into his monster mid to late games, it's always a good idea to prioritize your ban on a meta champ who can give you issues early on in lane. Ashe and Karma are two champs picked quite a bit right now, so they're the highest priority bans on our list. For Smolder's build, it's going to be an Essence Reaver rush into either Spear of Shojin or Infinity Edge second. If you're against a very heavy dive comp, then going Shojin is good value so you're more durable. Otherwise, IE is great for stronger DPS. With Jinx and Ashe becoming weaker this patch, next in line to move up and joining the top 3 is Vayne. So Vayne has been quite underrated for a while now and is a phenomenal pick when paired with any meta enchanter. If you can pick Vayne with Melio, Nami, or Lulu and reach 3 items, then the solo carry potential in fights is absolutely massive. Of course, getting to that stage of the game is easier said than done, so to get out of laning phase more reliably using your ban on Ashe is a good idea. It's the 3-item core of Blade of the Ruined King, Rage Blade, and Hexplate that makes Vayne so insane. You really don't need more pure damage items on Vayne after going Blade and Rage Blade, so going into Hexplate 3rd and then something like Jaksho 4th will turn you into a DPS tank later on. Vayne is just so much more forgiving with this setup, and even if you're not the best mechanical player, you can still see good success running this build. But for this patch, and the no-brainer ADC pickup if you're in the lower ranks right now, is Miss Fortune. The fact Smolder and MF are both in really powerful spots right now doesn't really give you any excuse if you're an ADC main in the lower elos. You can alternate between the two, as MF will work best with engaged supports, while Smolder prefers enchanters. Something that has made MF a lot better other than her direct buff this patch is the fact that she can abuse the cashback and triple tonic rune buffs. Triple tonic is so undervalued on Miss Fortune because you receive that elixir of force when you hit level 6, and while popped, you're getting 18 AD. So if you are with an engaged support and they dive in, you just pop the elixir and will deal a lot more follow-up damage for a deadly level 6 all-in. It's a full crit setup working the best for Miss Fortune's build right now as you rush Bloodthirster into the Collector 2nd and Infinity Edge 3rd. You really want to avoid playing into heavy dive champs when picking Miss Fortune since she lacks a gap closer, so banning out Zed or Jarvan is always good value. So with the buff from last patch, and due to how good of a counter he is to many of the meta enchanters, Blitz joins the top 3 for support. Blitz E cooldown was reduced by 2 seconds, and it's led to his win rate increasing just over 1%. Because of this buff, something you're going to want to try on Blitz is maxing W out second and E last. W max second Blitz players are winning 2% more than those going for E max second, and with E cooldown dropping by 2 seconds at rank 1 in the spell, there's less incentive to max it out second. With Melio being the best enchanter support in the game right now, Blitz is one of the very few champs who actually has a positive win rate in the matchup. Blitz just does a great job at punishing these squishy enchanters with shields because of his catch power and shield breaking mechanic on R. Blitz doesn't like playing into other melee supports who are tanky, as you just have less targets to hook, so banning out Braum is a good idea. For your build on Blitz, it's going to be Locket and Redemption as core items for most games, while Celestial Opposition is the item upgrade. Glacial Augment will be the Keystone Rune, and then you'll go Sorcery for secondaries. A mainstay in the support top 3 for what it seems like months now is Melio. Melio is just the most well-rounded enchanter in the game right now because of how effective he is without requiring a ton of skill. You also get a lot more versatility out of Melio compared to other enchanters because he actually doesn't mind playing into melee supports. Most enchanters struggle more into melee engaged supports, but because of the knockback mechanic from Melio Q, he does a great job at keeping divers off himself and his carries. Blitz is really the only melee support that is more difficult for Melio to counter because you can't prevent a Blitz hook from landing by throwing your Q, so using your ban on Blitz is a good idea. For how easy the spell is to use, Melio's R can single-handedly win you games in late-game teamfights. The fact you can cleanse a high-value CC spell with Melio R can completely shift a fight in your favor, as it can be the difference between your ADC getting blown up right away and dying instantly, or you baiting the enemy team to go in just for you to turn everything around. Since solo queue is so chaotic and your teammates are bound to be caught out of position throughout the game, that get-out-of-jail-free card that you have with Melio R is just so powerful. The core build to run on Melio revolves around an Echoes of Helia rush into Moonstone or Ardent Censer second. Against heavy divers, go Moonstone for more survivability, but if you're into a tankier comp where you'll need as much damage as possible to chew through them, that's where Ardent value is at its highest. An enchanter support has been garnering more attention as of recent, and featured in the top 3 for this patch is Seraphine. So Seraphine has been buffed a few times this season, and the most recent buffs she received have finally pushed her into top tier territory. If more players would just optimize Seraphine, she'd be performing even better because a lot of players are stuck on the Rylai's build that's just not as powerful as a more supportive style. With Seraphine's heal from W being more powerful now due to the 25.19 buff, going for a heavy heal setup of Redemption and Moonstone is just really obnoxious to play against. You actually want to max your W out first when playing this build, as W max is a 3% better win rate than Q max. As a matter of fact, it's W max first into E second and Q last that finds the most amount of success among high elo Seraphine players. Even in the lower ranks though, where this skill order isn't played nearly as frequently, it does still have the highest win rate. Matchup wise for Seraphine, she doesn't like playing into hook champs like Pyke or Blitz, so either is a good ban to consider. All in all, if you're bored of playing the same old Melio, Lulu, and Nami, who have been top tier for a long time now, definitely look into Seraphine for 25.23, because if you use those optimizations we talked about, she's in a super strong spot. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's gonna wrap everything up for our 25.23 edition of the best solo carries. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you back soon.